Hey everyone, it's Sarah at Repeat Crafter Me, and I want to show you how to make this adorable cluster V-stitch hat. I am using Bernat POP Yarn, and this is a great color because it's kind of like a fun spring rainbow in my mind. It's called Pop Art, if you want to get this color. So I've made a large one, I've made a small one, and now I'm going to make a medium-sized one. On the large one, I added in a cute little rainbow applique. This pattern is on repeatcrafterme.com, and I will be sure to link to it. I was able to get about 2 hats, the large and the small, from one ball of this Bernat POP yarn. It will depend on all of the color rounds of color that you see in here are gonna vary from ball to ball, so it's just gonna depend on which one you get. So you could just buy 2 of these just to make sure you're getting at least 2 hats. You will for sure be able to get a hat and possibly a headband. This is my Griddle Stitch Winter Headband. I will link to this as well. So let's get started. Move these over. The first thing you're going to want to do is deconstruct your yarn, and that's to ensure that you're going to get these nice rows of color. So you don't have to do that, but I think it looks really pretty this way. So the first thing I did was I deconstructed it, and that just means separating out all of your colors. This isn't a full ball right here. I had already used some of this from a previous ball, but you get the idea. And I am just gonna dive right in. I've got my size H crochet hook, got some scissors, got a tapestry needle. We are gonna start with the pink yarn. Let me find my end. Okay. And you're gonna start by making a magic ring. Okay, we're gonna chain 2. We're going to make 12 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, now let's pull this tight, join to my first double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. I'm going to start making my cluster V stitches. This chain 2 is not going to count for anything. It's just a way to step up to the next round. So now we're going to make a cluster V stitch in each of these double crochet stitches from the previous round. So to make your cluster V stitch, I'm going to yarn over, insert in that first stitch, pull, yarn over, and pull through 2 of those loops. So now I have 2 loops left on my hook. Yarn over again, insert, pull through 2 again. Now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through those 3. That's half of our cluster V stitch. I'm going to chain 1 and do this again. Yarn over, insert in that same stitch. Okay, 2 loops. Gonna pull through these first 2 loops on my hook. Okay, 2 loops left, yarn over, insert in that same stitch, pull through those first 2, 3 loops left on my hook, yarn over, pull through. Okay, there's my first cluster V stitch. Again, that first chain 2 doesn't really count, so just take a look at it like that. All right, I'm not going to chain or anything. I'm just going to go ahead and work right in that next stitch. Yarn over. Okay. There's my next cluster V stitch. Okay, so I have 1, 2. Just keep going all the way around. Okay, here we go to the next one. Try and slow down a little bit so you guys can see. Once you get the hang of it, it goes really fast. Okay, we're getting closer to the end. All right, let's do our last one. Okay, so we now have 12 cluster V stitches. I'm going to join to the top of that first V stitch. Okay, and I'm going to slip stitch over. So I'm working in the first V stitch space. Okay, and I'm going to chain 2. All right, so now we're going to start on the next round. And this is just going to be cluster V stitches in each of those spaces from the V stitches in the previous round. So every time we had chained 1, you are going to make another cluster V stitch. So just as we did before. Okay, so there's 1. Okay, now this is, remember, the space in between our V stitches, so I'm not going to work there. I'm going to go all the way over and I'm going to work in that next cluster V stitch space. That was a tongue twister, wasn't it? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work in the next one. Go ahead and work in the next one. All the way around, you should still have 12 of these cluster V stitches when you're done. We are not increasing on this row or round. Okay. See that? Okay, so here's my next one. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, I'm getting down to my last one right here. Okay, you can see your hat is starting to take shape a little bit. At this point, I want to change my color. So I'm going to grab, well, if I can find it, the end of my orange. Is that not the end I wanted, but let's see. Let's try this one. So I am going, as I join to that top of that first V-stitch, I am going to slip stitch in the orange color. All right, pull tight. You can actually go ahead and clip off the pink. Okay, so I have my orange in there. I'm going to slip stitch over, so I'm working in that first V-stitch space. I'm going to chain 2. Okay, so let's go on to our next round. This is going to be an increase round. So what's going to happen is we are going to make a cluster V-stitch in the first space, like we did before. Then we are going to work in between our cluster V-stitches from the previous round. And then I'm going to make another one just in that next normal V-stitch space. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip over the space in between, and we'll start that repetition over. So you should always have like 3 cluster V-stitches in a row. So let's just start this and see if we can make it make sense. Okay, so I'm making 1 cluster V-stitch in that first chain space. Okay, then I'm working in between. See these 2 cluster V-stitches? I'm working in between, okay? And I'm going to make one of my little V-stitches here. We're adding in these extra V-stitches for an increase. Okay, so I worked in between, okay? Now I'm just going to work basically back in that chain space, just a normal V-stitch. Okay, so see how we kind of have 3 in a row right there? All right, so I'm going to skip over that space in between. We're not going to make too many. We're going to make too many increases, so we're skipping over that. I'm going to just go ahead and cluster V-stitch right in that chain space. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and work in between the cluster V-stitches. Okay, so they're right next to each other. And now cluster V-stitch in that chain space. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So remember when we started, we did 3 in a row. So normal one, the in-between one, the normal one. Then we skipped that in-between space, just kind of that normal V-stitch, the one in between, and then another normal one. Okay, so just think of like 3 in a row, 3 in a row. So skip that in-between space. Let's make a normal one. Okay, now in between. And then right next to it in that chain space. Okay, so we have 3 in a row, skip that, just normal V-stitch. And the in-between space. Okay, and that next one. Okay, 3 in a row. Now I'm going to skip that in-between space. Okay, I'm going into the in-between space. Now in the next one. Skip that in-between space. Start normally, right in that chain space of the V-stitch. I think this was our last sequence. In that in-between space. Okay, and then right in that last chain space, V-stitch. And we should have a total of 18 V-stitches. Let's count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And now let's go ahead and join. We're going to slip stitch over, so we're working in that first V-stitch space. Chain 2. Remember, chain 2 doesn't count for anything, just gets us up to the next round. Okay, so we are on round 5, and we are going to go ahead and do one more increase round. Okay, so for this one, we are going to just normally make cluster V-stitches, and for the first 6, so let's just go ahead and start it and then we can see the sequence. So just normal cluster V-stitches. Okay, there's an one. Did I miss my chain there? Let's go back. No, I didn't. The yarn just thinned out. Okay, so this is a normal cluster V-stitch. Okay, not going to worry about that in between space. I'm just going to go over to the next one. Okay, remember this is the medium size hat, so the increases are going to vary between the 3 different sizes. Okay, so we have 2. I'm just going to go ahead in the next V-stitch space. Okay, in the next one. Okay, so we have 4. Now we have 5. And now one more, just normal one. 6. And after the 6th one, okay, I am gonna go ahead and make a cluster V-stitch in that space between our V-stitches. Okay, so 6, and then you work in the in-between spot. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in between spot. Now 6 more. Okay, that's 3, 4, 5, and one more. That's 6. Okay, now I'm going to work right in that in-between space. Okay, now 6 more normal ones. Okay, let's see, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 2, 5, 6. And then we have one more little increase. That last space, I'll get to in a second. So that was 6. cluster V-stitches. And then I'm going to use that last space to make my last little increase right there. I'm working right in between. Eek. That's a tricky one to get in. I want to snag my yarn. Okay. Now I am going to, see, look at that. Okay. Now we're going to be smooth sailing. No more increases for this hat. So I am going to clip that off. I'm going to take my yellow, but I actually had another yellow somewhere. I don't think that's going to be enough yellow. There we go. Okay, I'm going to add in my yellow. I'm going to slip stitch over, and I'm just going to go ahead and make cluster V-stitches in each of these V-stitches from the previous round. Super simple, no increases, no counting, just work right there in those chain spaces. Okay, you guys should be able to get the hang of it, I think, for now. So let me just do a couple. So we can see. All right, it's looking great, huh? Okay, so we're just gonna continue rounds. I'm gonna do 2 more in yellow, then I'm gonna do 2 in blue, then I'm gonna do 1 in the gray, and then we're gonna start on our ribbing. Okay, so now let's get started on the ribbing of the hat. That's gonna go right on the edge, bottom edge. It will look like that. And this should be where you're at so far. So I think I ended you right on this yellow round, and then you're just gonna go ahead and continue making V-stitches in each V-stitch space from the round before until you get to this length with 1 round of the gray. All right, so the ribbing, we are going to take the gray, and I am going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now I'm going to single crochet in the second chain from hook, and in each of the chains. So you should have 6 single crochets. Okay, chain 1, turn. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work in the back loops only. So here's your front loop that's closest to your body, and then the back loop is the one right here. So we're going to go into the back loop, single crochet. Go into the back loop, single crochet all the way down. 6 single crochets. Chain 1, turn. Again, same repeating pattern. Single crochet in the back loops. Now I'm going to make around, I don't know, 54, 56 of these rows. You basically are going to just want to make sure it fits around the edge of the hat, because we will have to stitch it on to this edge. Okay, so I think you guys get the hang of this. Just single crochet in the back loops until it's long enough. Keep in mind, I'll just finish this row here. Keep in mind that, I say this all the time, crochet is so forgiving. So, you know, let's say you made 1 too many rows, or you made, I don't know, 3 less rows than maybe you should have. There's a couple things you could do. You could just keep adding on or unravel, or as you're stitching on, just kind of fudge it. Just you know, skip a stitch or crunch it in there. Just as long as it's securely fastened to the edge, you'll be good to go. So I'm going to keep crocheting these rows till we have a long strand of ribbing here, and then I will show you how to stitch it on the edge of your hat. Okay, so now that you've finished your long strip of ribbing, let's go ahead and stitch it on our hat. I left a very long tail here attached to the end of the ribbing. I have my tapestry needle, and I'm gonna go ahead and start stitching it onto the edge of the hat. Just a little tip, I like to have all of my seams in one spot. So if this is where the end is gonna be, you can see these were where my chain twos were. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. And all you do is I'm just working under those stitches in the hat. Probably didn't need quite this long of a tail, but better safe than sorry. Okay, and then I'm just working under the top of the ribbing and back through the hat. Okay, so top of ribbing, you guys can see that under the hat. I'm just gonna keep doing this. Helps if you kind of hold it up against each other like that. Okay, see how that's stitching onto there? We're just going to do this all the way around until we have all of the ribbing seamed on. Okay, so here's what I love about crochet. So I'm getting to the end of stitching the ribbing onto the edge of the hat, and I'm noticing I'm probably going to be a little bit short. So you could do a couple things. You could go ahead and just join in some yarn with your hook and crochet a couple more rows, or just stretch it and sew it on. This ribbing is very stretchy. We should just be able to get it to work, because who really wants to join in more yarn? I mean, I guess if you were way off, you could, but I don't think we're that far. I think it's still gonna look really nice. Okay, I'm just kind of holding that there. I keep going. Look at that. Okay, nicely secured. Could use this end, or I'm just gonna join these. Join the seam here. Just kind of hold these together. Okay. All right, got that stitched. That's gonna be in the back. We have our ribbing. All right, we're gonna weave this end in. I always like to weave my ends in on the inside. Oh gosh, my yarn snagged. Of course it did, right when I'm trying to do that. cut this off. I still have that one more end right there, but I'm going to show you guys. I left my starting end right here from my magic ring because I want to add a little furry pom-pom. So you could make a yarn pom-pom, or you could leave it without a pom-pom. Got these off Amazon. I will be sure to include the links. I used gray and white already, so I have a couple. I'm gonna use this one. I think it's kind of a nice little cream color. And the fun thing about these little furry pom-poms is you have to kind of search for it. Ooh, is this it? They have, no, here, yes. Okay, let's try and separate the yarn. They have a little loop. So you can easily stitch it onto the top of your hat. See that? Loop. All right, so I'm going to take this end. Okay, I'm going to send it through the top. Find my loop. Through there. Back down through the hat. And you might want to do that one more time just so it's pretty secure. Just go through the loop. You're going to have to kind of feel for it. Back down. Okay, pull tight and then just weave in your end pretty securely. Back and forth. I don't want that little furry palm falling off. Okay. Like that. I'll weave that in later, but I just want to show you guys. How cute!